On Saturday, we learned that Carolina's ceiling, it might be higher than we thought it was, but unfortunately last night, we also learned that the floor might be lower than we thought it was.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Welcome into this live edition of the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch of the day to get this Wednesday going. Baby, special shout out to all you everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Coming up on the show today, we're going to continue to unpack Carolina's loss down in Miami last night, 75-66 to the Canes. By the way, as the net refreshed this morning, Carolina falls from 22 down to 26. About what we expected. So how about that? Carolina climbs 3 spots in the net after beating Duke, but falls 4 spots in the net after losing to Miami. Whatever. All right, fine. So here's where we're headed on the show today. I want to start by looking at the floor and ceiling for Carolina. I feel like this team has a little bit of an identity crisis because there's a whole bunch of outcomes for the team. We'll look at what might be part of that and what caused it last night. We'll get to our Four Corners recap of this game, including, Caleb Wilson, what's going on there? Well, coach didn't give us any answers last night, and he was not pleased about it. We'll get to the Schadey Stat of the game and where do we go from here. All of that coming up on the show. Let's dive right in. Here's the thing for me. I know that it is very difficult to turn around from Saturday and get this done, right? We talked about that yesterday and the possibilities for letdowns and all that stuff. But if you want to be the team and the program that Carolina basketball is, a national elite entity, you have to figure out a way to win last night's basketball game. Clear and simple. That is my takeaway. Yes, I get it. You're going to lose games sometimes, and we learn from that, we move on. Yes, 100%. But you've got to win last night's game. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be by 57 points. But elite teams win games like last night. Because Carolina was there, man. I know they got down by double digits early, but they caught it back up. They tied it on multiple occasions. Obviously never took the lead. They've led for a grand total of 4/10 of the last 80 minutes of basketball, 4/10 of a second of the last 80 minutes of basketball. So that's all a reality. I get it. But you've got to put yourself in the position to win, and Carolina didn't. And look, I heard people use the word trap game. This was not a trap game. A trap game is where you overlook a team and they jump up and surprise you because you didn't think they were anything. That wasn't this. Carolina was locked in on Miami. They talked about it. So we verbally, we know from the team, this was not a trap game. This wasn't that. What this was a realization, an example that this team has an identity crisis. Perhaps all the more in bold relief on Tuesday night because Miami seems to know exactly who they are and what they want to do and what they need to be successful. Carolina, we now realize, and then we have, but it continues to be solidified, is that this is a team with a wide variety of outcomes. This team has a very high ceiling. I mean, they just knocked off a 1 seed on Saturday, and I wasn't sure if they were capable of that. Now we know. Carolina's ceiling is quite high. Now they've found ways to get behind just about every one of those highest level teams they've played. But those aren't the scores that matter. The scores that matter are when the clock hits 0, and when the clock is hit 0, they've beaten a lot of those teams. But the reality is, not only does the ceiling seem to be higher, and again, how high is that? I don't know. Final Four, Elite 8, Sweet 16. That doesn't matter for this conversation. What does matter is that the ceiling is high, but we have to now come to grips with the fact that the floor is lower than we wish it was. I wish this team had a better level of consistency that would allow us to trust them, knowing that, hey, game in and game out, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. But that's not the reality. The reality is there's a wide potential of outcomes because the floor is lower than we wish, and the ceiling is high, and that's great news. For like, if this was a fantasy team and I was needing to draft a college basketball team, I wouldn't draft these Tar Heels. Here's why. In fantasy football, it's all about mitigating risk. How can I have players that are going to have a high floor game in and game out? And I would rather take a player with a smaller outcome set, like, hey, maybe it's a player whose ceiling isn't as high as a Caleb Wilson, but their floor is very high. And Caleb's floor is very high. Hear me, I'm just throwing that out as a name. Right. Like Caleb had his lowest scoring output of the season last night. It was 12 points. Like, he has a high floor. But I've had players in fantasy football who will get goose eggs one week and 25 points the next week. I don't need that. I need to know that week in and week out, my fantasy football players are going to deliver me 12 points at least. And they might not be able to get 57, but they're going to boom, boom. And I know what that floor is. But because I don't know what that floor is with the Tar Heels, because we get things like this, I wouldn't draft them. So we come to, like, what is this team? Who are they? Well, it's clearly a tournament team, like 100%. There's no doubt. I saw people last night, legitimately, y'all, this is wild that we say things like this. I saw comments last night of people saying, oh, man, well, Carolina's going to be on the bubble again, or they're going to miss the tournament. They are not. This team is safely in the NCAA tournament. Just like, why do we have to swing so wildly? It's crazy. So it's clearly a tournament team. It's clearly a top 25 team, but it's not a top 10 team. I truly don't believe that. Again, the ceiling might be there, but the consistency is not. And there are plenty of other teams that have more of that this season where it's not Carolina. If I had to Goldilocks this thing, 15 to 20, that's the right range for this team. I truly believe. Like, if I had to slot them in somewhere season long, I would put them in the 15 to 20 range right now. Now, they could figure some things out and get there, but as we look at it on the morning of Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, 15 to 20. So for me, there are 4 things that contribute to this conversation that we saw in last night's game. Number 1, the 2 things that have helped the floor the complete most for this Carolina team is that game in and game out, you're going to have the consistency of Caleb Wilson and Henry Vasar. Unfortunately, that just wasn't there at the usual level on Tuesday night, as it has been throughout the season. Part of that is because both guys were banged up at different moments in the game, and so Doug Halverson had to attend to both of them at various times, so that led to all the weird rotations and personnel groupings and things like that we saw. So if you're worried about that, that's where it is. But season long, Caleb is averaging 19.8 points. That's even with last night factored in. Henry averaging 16.4. So these guys together are averaging just north of 35 points a game. It's fantastic. Give me that every game. That's like a Virginia total in the Tony Bennett era, right? So if you've got that 35 to go along with like 18 rebounds from the 2 of them, then you're in great shape to start a game, and then you can build off of that floor. But last night, that floor wasn't there. But second thing that contributes to this right now, or at least in last night's game, is that even in games where Caleb and Henry aren't reaching their averages quite or their ceiling, there's a third guy there that's able to jump in and help out as well, and that's Seth Trimble, who has been quite consistent. Well, last night, grand total of 4 points from the senior, 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3 free throw line, and so great job getting there, Seth. But it was a bad confluence of events where you had all 3 of your main guys not able to do their usual level of scoring output. And that's unfortunate. A third thing that factors into this is something we've learned now about the Tar Heels is that this is just not a team of road warriors. Yes, they had won 2 straight prior to this at Virginia and at Georgia Tech. Yes, they won at Rupp Arena. But outside of the Michigan State loss, all these other 4 losses are on the road in ACC play. And elite teams that have consistency game in and game out, they're able to go win more of those games. And Carolina still has 3 road games left: at State next Tuesday, at Syracuse that next Saturday, and then at Duke to wrap the regular season. So, I mean, good grief. I know the game at Duke is obviously always a tough ask, but could you go get the State and Syracuse games? If you get that, that's better. You'd still be 3-5 on the road in conference play, but not Road Warriors. That's what we know right now. And then the fourth thing I would say that's contributing to the lack of, consistency or identity for the Tar Heels is the Tar Heels just don't have a point guard that is able to create a consistent capability right now. Derek Dixon is good, but last night was not a great Derek Dixon game. Coach went to Kyan Evans a lot, who, just he's not been it either, right? If you add in a Ty Lawson, a Ray Felton, a Kendall Marshall, and Ed Cota to this team, oh boy, the floor and the ceiling change at that point. But Carolina, that is probably the area of biggest kind of weakness from a consistency standpoint, is there's just not that great point guard play. Even, like there are some other things with Elliott that were struggles the past couple of years, but his ability to get into the lane and as a playmaker, if you could put like Derek Dixon shooting with that, Derek Dixon's emotional consistency and things like that, man, I would take that in a heartbeat. So you look at those kind of things and it's like, okay, this is what's contributing to Carolina's lack of consistency or identity this season. That's where I'm at right now, is that the floor needs to find a way to come up. If I could sum it all up, that's where I'm at. All right, we got to get to our Four Corners recap of this game, including, man, Caleb Wilson, what's going on there? We're going to have to figure that out. Still waiting on actual news because Coach Davis wasn't willing to give us anything on Tuesday night. We'll get to all that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Indeed. Look, hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping that the right person just happens to stumble across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria: skills, certifications, location, etc. If I was hiring, I certainly wouldn't want just like random persons like, oh, I guess you can sort of help maybe. No, I'd want someone with real experience who can jump in right now and help us out. And that's what I like about it, about Indeed. You can get specific with it and you can target exactly what you need. And with sponsored jobs, your post is going to get seen by candidates who are an actual fit. Here's a stat for you. This will tell you everything. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies just like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners to Locked on Tar Heels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium post, the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. This episode's also brought to you by FanDuel. Y'all, the winter games are officially here. I love it. I've been sitting, my iPad just sits there all day playing Olympic stuff. It's so great. And if you're anything like me, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel, it just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to all the action. Man, speed skating, hockey, man, how about the American women just obliterating Canada yesterday? That was great. Maybe you want to go ahead and get some action on the hockey team or something of that nature, man. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. I was looking at medal counts. They've got some lines for medal counts of like total medals won, gold medals won. Norway leads all of that because that's what they do in the Winter Olympics. Followed, isn't it weird? Norway, like what? Followed by the United States of America, second in both of those in the odds, and then the host country, Italy, third in both of those. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. It's because of all of you who are always hanging out with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you want to go next level, check out our brand new Everydayers Club, a great opportunity to get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and other perks as well. You want to check it out? That link is in the show notes. Go ahead, do it right now. All right, let's get to our Four Corners recap from Carolina's loss to Miami. Number 1. Caleb Wilson, tough night, man. It's just 3 points in the first half. I think something off, right? Whether went to the locker room with Doug Halverson, his mom went back, came out with his whole left hand and wrist heavily taped, came back in the game, and clearly was not using that. So we're still waiting to learn what's wrong with it. And the issue is, Coach Davis was completely mum on it at his press conference. Our buddy R.L. Bynum directly asked him about it in the post game. So if you haven't watched the video, you should go watch it. It's kind of an awkward interaction. It's like Coach Davis was waiting for someone to ask him, because he interrupted R.L., like cut him off with a really terse answer. It was straight, and I can't tell if it's because I'm just frustrated about the night. I'm frustrated about the performance of the team, whatever it was strange. So here's how it went down. RL, Steve Kirshner, the great SID, calls on RL, and RL says, what is Caleb's situation with his left hand? And RL was going to keep saying stuff, but as he gets to hand, Coach Davis cuts him off and says, there is no situation. Like, just very blunt, short, to the point, cutting RL off. Like, I just thought it just felt odd. And so RL, I loved it. RL follows back up and he's like, well, I mean, it's heavily wrapped. Did that impair his ability when he taped that? That's what RL said. And Coach, he shrugged. He paused for a couple awkward seconds. It was like he was trying to either collect his thoughts or think of the right way to say it, and literally just said, not to my knowledge. Like, it was a straight. I loved how RL handled it, like pushing Coach Davis on it, because we need to know, like your star player, a consensus top 5 pick in the NBA draft, clearly something is wrong. What? Clearly everybody wants to know what's wrong. And so the response is baffling. And I know, like, you're not trying to give stuff away, but like, to say there is no situation, or what it like, and not to my knowledge. I mean, we saw during the game Doug Halverson go talk to Coach Davis, and so there is something. And so I feel it's a poor answer in that moment, I guess, is maybe where I'm at with it, because, like, if you don't want to tell us, you could say, hey, yes, Caleb clearly, as you all saw, has something going on with his left wrist. We're not ready to talk about it, or I don't have the information to give you right now, but when I do have more, or we're ready to talk about it, I'll let you know. So there's that. Now, keep in mind, remember, the ACC they have to put out injury reports now, and so we'll get that ahead of Saturday's game against Pitt at the very least. But a strange thing. But it was almost like some effort was missing too, right? Like, Carolina down 4 points. Ernest Uday has a free throw and misses the second shot, goes and gets his own rebound and puts it back in. Now Carolina's down 6. That was a critical moment in this game. There was just over 2 minutes left. There would have been plenty of time to still work and fight and get back in it, especially if you're down 4 with the ball. It's like, yeah, we can make this happen. But like, in real time, I was like, oh man, somebody didn't box out the shooter. You go back and watch it. Caleb is just kind of standing there. Everybody else is boxing out. Caleb's still standing at his spot on the lane, allowing Uday to just get there. And so, like, yes, his left wrist was taped, but there was some of that too. So I just, something was off. It was very strange. I'm interested to know more. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap, rebounding. The Tar Heels were out-rebounded once in the first 19 games of this season. They've been out-rebounded 3 times in the last 5 games, 2 of which they've been out-rebounded by double digits. It doesn't make sense. And one of the big issues is on the offensive rebounds. Carolina has allowed here's the last 6 games: 12, 10, 11, 9, 16, and 18. It's not been good. And It doesn't make sense. Like at per Ken Palm, this is the second tallest team in the nation. And there's multiple times this season where they've been great on the glass, but they haven't been lately. And yes, sometimes the ball's not going to bounce your way and you're not going to get all the rebounds you want. But so much of rebounding is about effort, is about want to, is about boxing out. Even if you don't get the rebound, boxing out your man so he can't get it, so your teammate can go and get it. There is something that has to be figured out here on the glass. And in this game in particular, man, it felt like multiple of those offensive rebounds, including the free throw offensive rebound we just talked about, were daggers for Carolina as they were trying to work their way back in down the stretch of this game. It just, oh man, something has to be fixed there in rebounding, in particular, like because we had talked about this in the Four Corners game is, hey, offensive rebounding is a strength for Miami. Coach Lucas like talked about it. We want to get to 40%. We want to get at least 15. That's our goal. Carolina, by the numbers at least, is an elite defensive rebounding team. And so we discussed, you've got to finish every defensive possession with a rebound. It didn't happen. Got to be better. Number 3 in the Four Corners recap. One of the very positive things from this game is I thought the bench was really impactful in the first half of this game. Scored 19 of Carolina's 40 points in the first half. You had 8 from Kyan Evans. You had 6 from Luka Bogovac. Really encouraging stuff. Now, the problem is they only scored 5 more in the second half for a grand total of 24 bench points. But still, nice job from the bench there, especially on a night where you needed it because of the weird rotations and Vasar and Wilson being out some. And if I'm not mistaken, I forgot to look at this with certainty, but yeah, Jaren Stevenson was the leading scorer for the Tar Heels in this game. Now, some of that, again, is because you've got both Caleb and Henry not playing as much as they usually would. 26-16 for Caleb, 25-39 for Jaren. So neither of them got to their usual 30 to 32-ish minutes. So that's a thing as well. But also, I mean, with the bench, again, 10 Tar Heels played in totality. All 10 of them scored. Eight Tar Heels scored in the first half. You like that, and you want, especially because the bench had been doing such a good job scoring until the Duke game when it really dropped off. But it's nice to see the bench get back there. Fourth thing in the Four Corners recap of this game. Carolina shot really well in the first half, and they didn't shoot well in the second half. It's funny because it seems like there's been some confusion about that and why that was. Well, look at the 3-point numbers alone. You know, Carolina goes from shooting in the first half 53.8% from 3 to 7.1%. Like, there's no confusion. There it is right there. It's written all over it. But the issue is Carolina has gotten better as a 3-point shooting team, but they're still not consistent enough where you assume like, oh man, we were 7 of 13 in the first half. We're going to do that again. No, that's not been there. So my issue was not that, oh man, the 3-pointers just didn't go in the second half at the same rate. It's that Carolina continues to rely on them so heavily when they settled a lot in the second half. Yes, they got to the free throw line a couple times in the second half, but the free throw numbers alone, right? Like, here was the cruel irony. You know, Carolina's not been a great free throw shooting team most of the season, although now they've been over 70%, much better. But last night was their 3rd highest free throw percentage in a single game this season, but it was their fewest free throw attempts of the season. And so it's like, dang it, get to the line more, attack. That's the issue. In each of the last 2 games, only 2 Tar Heels have gone to the line, and it's been the same guys in both games, Seth Trimble and Caleb Wilson. Other guys got to get there. You got to attack, got to force the issue. And in this game, you know, like, and coach talked about it post game as we're looking at this. He said, I feel like we settled instead of, and he trailed off, and he was implying get to the free throw line in the second half. But there were issues in the first half. Obviously, the issue was the turnovers. I mean, killer. That was a killer to Carolina. And then in the second half, it was the shooting woes and giving up those critical offensive rebounds. Like, I mean, you go back and look at the number of shots that would have tied or taken the lead. But it's like, again, it felt like Carolina on a lot of those was settling. Not that they were bad shots, but they could have gotten better shots. And that didn't happen, so Carolina couldn't close it out. So there you go. There's the Four Corners recap. We got to get to our Schadey Stat of the game. And one of the confounding issues is that Carolina just basically allowed Miami to have free will and free reign of the painted area. We'll look at that and what Carolina does from here. Coming up in just a second.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Dawn Staley and South Carolina remain on top of the SEC standings after handing Tennessee their worst defeat in program history with a final score of 93-40. In the 43-point win, South Carolina shot 69% from the field. Tessa Johnson had a perfect shooting night, scoring 24 points, shooting 4 for 4 from the floor, including 2 threes, and made all 4 of her free throws. And UCLA remains undefeated in Big Ten play, topping Michigan 69-66 as Player of the Year contender Lauren Betts put up a double-double, scoring 16 points, collecting 16 rebounds, and adding 5 assists and 3 blocks. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
It's time for the Schadey Stat of the game. It's funny, I left all my sunglasses in my car, so we've got like my blue light glasses for the Schadey Stat of the game. We'll just deal with that. All right, good. So here's the deal. The Schadey Stat of the game is points in the paint. Miami leads this thing 46-28. Yikes. I mean, again, Carolina. When you talk about Carolina, you talk about the front court. You talk about this front court that's supposed to be one of the very best in the nation. But to get out points in the painted 46-28, that's insane. I think back to that, Carolina getting so frustrated with what was going on. They finally go to a possession of zone. And I mean, it was like Moses stood up, spread his hands apart, and the Red Sea parted. And I can't even remember who it was now in real time. Just wide open lane. Vasar kind of had to olay because it was still too early to pick up his 4th foul, to risk picking up his 4th foul anyway. And so, I mean, I just feel like that's a microcosm of what we were talking about. Miami knows who they are, and they're doing it, right? Just going to the rim over and over and over again. Only took 13 threes in this game, while Carolina took 27, and it's just Carolina should be getting getting close to 50 points in the paint. I mean, that's hard to do consistently, but should be getting those kind of numbers. And we saw again against a team that, yes, their front court didn't have as much height, but they did have some heft, some girth. And I tell you what, you got to get ready because NC State, that's exactly how they're going to try to do it. Now they bomb away a little bit, but they're undersized with Van Allen Lubin, with Darion Williams in the front court. But man, they're going to try to take it to you. So like that it concerns me. It worries me. Tar Heels got to be ready for that. So Schadey Stat of the game is a telling microcosm of what happened last night. 46-28, Carolina is outscored in the paint, both from the bigs and from guards getting to the rim. And so now looking ahead, one of the issues from a resume standpoint, from a season standpoint, is like this was always going to be a difficult game, right? Like to go down to Miami, to do it coming off of Duke, win, lose, or draw against Duke, it's tough to turn around. Like I recognize that. Again, I said, but you got to figure out a way to win this game. But the problem is that the Cal game, the Stanford game, those are games you had to have so that imagine, Carolina now has 5 losses, but what if they came into this game with only 2 losses and this was their 3rd? We'd still be disappointed. We'd be frustrated, but man, it would feel different because Carolina would have some margin, some buffer for these tougher road games like Miami, like NC State, like Duke. But they don't have that margin because they've put themselves into a hole because of how they performed in those games. And so now you've got to just like that. That's an issue. So this felt like a game I guess you can afford to lose it, but I feel like it puts you in bad position. You had just gotten to where I think a lot of bracketologists had Carolina as a 4 seed. Now they're going to fall right back down to 5 or 6, maybe even 7 at some people. And so you look about what do you need to fix ahead of Pitt coming to town on Saturday? Well, Coach Davis said post-game last night, he said, it's not about missed shots. It's about defense, rebounding, and taking care of the basketball. And I like, on one hand, I get what he's trying to say there, right? If Carolina had defended at the level they needed to defend, if they had rebounded at the level they needed to rebound, both critically defensively, and if they had taken care of the basketball at the level they needed to, which they did in the second half, just 3 turnovers. If they had done those things, you can survive a game when you only score 66 points. You can survive a game where Caleb is hurt and out for a while. You can survive a game where Henry is hurt and out for a while. But they weren't strong enough in those areas. And so, like, again, the inconsistency of that is what's baffling and bewildering, and the Tar Heels are going to have to get that figured out. They got a couple days to do that before Pitt comes to town again, the final quad 3 game of the season. Everything else the rest of the way, at least as it stands now, is quad 1 or quad 2. So still lots of chances in front of you, but now you also recognize you squandered a few, and that, I think that's the disappointing thing for all of us. But what I will say to wrap things here is, let's remember the high of Saturday. Let's remember the low of last night. And I think what we got to recognize is that the reality of these Tar Heels is somewhere in between. I'll go back to Goldilocks again, right? The just perfect, who is this team, is somewhere in between Saturday and what we saw last night. I think if we're being rational on a neutral floor, this team is not as good as Duke. They can beat them, but they're not as good. But on a neutral floor, this team would beat Miami. Or at least they should, in a series, right? And so that's the reality we settle into. And that's what makes it all the more frustrating to have followed up that great win with this loss. But we learn from it. We move on. We look ahead to Saturday, and we'll do a lot of that as we continue on throughout the week. Josh Marlowe is going to join me on tomorrow's show, Coach Rob on Friday. So it'll be great to get their perspectives on where things are at and what's going on for the Tar Heels. If you haven't subscribed to the show already on both YouTube and on your favorite audio podcast platform, do that now so you don't miss a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord or our Everydayers Club, those links are both in the show notes. We'd love to see you there. You guys, even on a tough day like today, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. I hope you have a great Wednesday. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.